Hi, welcome to Crazy But Not Dangerous with Shorty Vaughn. That's me. Today we're going to make sauerkraut. It's quick, it's easy. I love it. Andrew hates it. That's just fine with me because then I don't have to share. I'm okay with that. And all we're going to need are a few basic things. We're going to need a sharp knife. We're going to need some sea salt. We're going to need some cabbage. And we're going to need something to ferment it in. And I know this looks odd, but we're going to be fermenting it in this almost 1/2 gallon coffee mate jug. This is food safe plastic. I double checked and it has been washed, rinsed, and sanitized with a little bit of bleach. As has my cutting board and my teaspoon. And I will do my knife. I thought I had one ready, but maybe I don't. Anyhow, let's get to it. Let's make some sauerkraut. Yay, hooray! Okay, I found my knife and we're all set. So this is my cabbage and I have washed it. I've removed the outer leaves. They had a couple of blemishes. I bought these the other day at Food City and they are firm and they smell great. I'm going to core it. And so I'm going to take my large knife and I'm just going to run that right around here, making sure to get all of that really hard core out. This can be a little bit tricky, so just go slow. And I should have a little damp towel for my cutting board because that's slip sliding around. Safety first, don't cut your fingers. Okay, there we go. So yeah, it's a little bit hard. It's kind of like cutting a jack-o'-lantern. Just take it a little easy. And I am cutting in a little bit deep because I do want to get as much of that core out in one fell swoop as I can. Come on, you can do it. Okay, so there we go. We got it. We'll put that in our compost pile. We're going to take off a little bit of this harder part here. And now we have a cored cabbage. I'm just going to go ahead and slice it straight down the center. And then again into quarters. And now I am just going to kind of shave this. And you know, I forgot one more thing that we're going to need, and that is our scale. And we need a scale so we know how much salt to put into it. So I'm going to grab this clean KitchenAid bowl and I'm going to set the tare weight to 0. And then as I shred my cabbage, I'm going to go ahead and put it in here and we'll see how much we get. And I have another one in the sink we're going to do as well because my hope is that we can get to somewhere between 2 and 4 pounds. When you're making sauerkraut, 2 to 4 pounds is my usual amount for a 1/2 gallon jug. They make beautiful sauerkraut crocks that you can use. I don't have one, and this always does the job for me. But if you have a beautiful sauerkraut crock, by all means go for it. Anything glass or plastic and food grade will be just fine for your sauerkraut making. So we're up to 1 pound and 1 ounce. And I'm not shredding these too finely because they will break down in the fermentation process. February is pretty much the only month that I can make sauerkraut January, February, because of where I live. Our temperatures don't get down low enough for making sauerkraut successfully. So in my house, it is typically in the winter time about 69 degrees. And the best temperature to make sauerkraut is going to be between the 70 and the 75 degree mark. After we get past February, we will be into the 80s, the 90s, and it will be too hot for my sauerkraut. I've tried to ferment it in the warmer temperatures, and after 2 days, it's gone beyond fermentation. So if we lived in a colder climate, this might take 4 to 6 weeks to ferment. It will take about a week where I live, and yeah. So we've got a little bit of time. We've got a short window to make some sauerkraut, and I love it. And I think it's good with a lot of things. And we got all those brats from Albertsons yesterday, so I want to make sure that I've got sauerkraut for my brats. And beer. And beer. Let's be honest, beer too. Okay, we've got the rest of our cabbage chopped up, and we got exactly to 2 pounds. Yay, hooray. And I've got it in this KitchenAid bowl for a reason, because now we are going to add some salt to it, and that will help preserve it. It will help the water come off of the cabbage. It will help in the fermentation. So we have 2 pounds, so we are going to need 3 1/2 teaspoons of sea salt. And we're going to add that to this mixture. And I'm just going to pour it on top because we are going to put this on the KitchenAid for a little bit of a beat. 2, 3 1/2. And now let's go ahead and get that onto the KitchenAid, and we're going to give it a little mix up, a little beat down. It'll be delicious. Okay, I've got it on my KitchenAid, and I've got my dough hook. And I know it's not dough, but I think it does the best job. You could certainly use the beater. If you didn't have a KitchenAid, you could always do this by hand and just give it a good stir up vigorously. And I can get this on. I really can. Okay, it just takes a little bit of maneuvering. We've got that cabbage packed in there pretty hard. And then let's go ahead and push this all the way up. And then I'm just going to turn it to 1 and let it just do what I just want this to ever so slightly bruise my cabbage, incorporate the salt, and we're going to see this significantly shrink. I'm not going to beat this to death. I'm going to let this do this for just a couple of minutes. And I'm going to lose a little bit. That's okay. It'll be fine. I used to have a guard that went around here. I don't know what happened to it. I can't find it. It's all right. We're going to just do it. It'll be fine. It's just food. We're not afraid. Okay, so we've let our cabbage that we have shredded and salted and all of these good things set here on the counter. We can already see the water coming up off of those. So I think we're in good shape. We're going to put it in this almost half-gallon jar from Coffee Mate Creamer. Like I said, this is food grade plastic. Glass would be fine too. Please do not use metal. It will have a bad chemical reaction. It will not taste good. So we want to pack this in here, whatever vessel you're using, as firmly and as tightly as we can. And like I said, we got to 2 pounds. Not 4, but that's okay because I'm going to use the rest of that cabbage for something else anyhow, and this will be extra good Homemade sauerkraut is not like sauerkraut. It doesn't taste anything like the sauerkraut that you get from a can. Homemade sauerkraut tastes closest to like a Clausen's sauerkraut, but even this is more delicious than a Clausen's. I love it. And here's a little secret that doesn't apply to everyone, but if you're a woman of a certain age and you have menopause, I find that if I'm having a hot flash or a night sweat, that a little bite of sauerkraut or a dill pickle at 3 o'clock in the morning will take the edge right off of these. Okay, so we've got that packed in there pretty firmly. And I'm just going to grab a spoon and just make sure I've got that mashed in there really well. Because as this gives off its liquid, its water content, it will cover the cabbage, and that is part of the fermentation process. So we want that packed in there really good. So we had it almost covered to the top. And in pressing that down, you can see it's almost at the halfway mark. I wish I had a glass container so you could see it more efficiently, but that's significantly down in there more. I've reserved these really nice leaves to just cover the top of it, and that will help keep it down below the liquid that is let off by the cabbage as it does its thing. We're just going to layer those in there, pressing them down firmly. And then all it needs, and that's how it looks now with the cover. So all it needs now is a weight. And what I'm going to use as a weight this is just so none of the cabbage floats up past that cabbage lid that we put in there. I've got this little pickle jar that I have washed, rinsed, and sanitized. I've filled that with cold water, and it has a metal lid, but I am not particularly worried about it because I don't think that it will come up that far. That's a good 3.5 inches. But it is heavy enough to keep that down. So that's how it's going to look in there. I used to have a rock that was washed, rinsed, and baked in the oven for 3 hours, and I used that to weigh down my sauerkraut, make sure that it didn't come up with the water level, that it didn't float. But my rock went away, so now I've got this glass jar, and I think it's going to be perfectly fine. We'll see. We'll see. So now all it needs to do is go into a cool, dark place. My laundry room is probably the coolest, and it is up against an exterior wall, so it won't get very warm in there. It usually stays about 69 or 70 degrees. Below 69, you may have a hard time reaching the fermentation process. And then what I will do every day is go into the laundry room. Well, I spend a lot of time in the laundry room. A lot. It's terrible. Laundry, it's a vicious cycle. And I will just unscrew this and give it a little burp. And it will actually make, as I'm releasing the air, it will actually make a little burping noise. It's quite comical. It will make your laundry room smell. This is a fact. It will smell like sauerkraut. So I am going to remove all of the hanging clothes and what have you from in there so that I don't smell like sauerkraut every day. I don't think that would be very appealing. But remove all of the clothes from in there, and then I will wash dry, and instead of folding in the laundry room for the next few weeks while this, like I said, for me in this climate, it will probably take about 7 days. Instead of folding clothes in the laundry room, I will just go ahead and fold those on the couch while I watch TV, or, you know, in the bedroom or something like that, so that we don't smell like sauerkraut everywhere we go. I don't know that I would necessarily mind, but people that know me might mind. Maybe. Okay, so we're in my laundry room, or as Andrew would say, my mad scientist lab. And let's take a look at our sauerkraut. Okay, so that little jar of water is keeping everything down, and I see no obvious signs of mold, and it smells very much like it is fermenting. And this is going a little slower than usual, but our temperatures have been a little colder than usual, so there we go. And there is significant moisture in the bottom. I think this is going to be a complete success.